Hey, good Friday afternoon, everybody. It's Jim, it's Amadeus, and it's soccer. And Amadeus, in the pre-show, my friend, you were percolating a rant. Okay, you had it ready, you teed it up, but then we didn't get to use it. So let's talk about what's coming up here, folks. You can start getting tickets to.
Yeah, Jim, I was so ready to rant about it. The MLS All-Star game is next week, and we got the last round pretty much of matches before they take their break this tomorrow. And then I find out, they don't come back until August 20th, and I was saying to myself, what the heck do we need a month off for these players when you could have taken that time off so your players could go play in the Gold Cup? But now we know the MLS is introducing a brand new cup tournament. So they have the U.S. Open Cup, and obviously Canada has their own version of the Canadian Championship. But now there's an actual League Cup in the MLS that's going to be coming after the All-Star break. So very exciting.
And it's with the Mexican League. And, there's all of the teams from both the Mexican League and the MLS. For instance, the first round of the League Cup is a week from today, and it has Orlando and Houston facing off. You have Miami against Cruz Azul, and you've got Dallas against Charlotte and Leon against Vancouver. Those are
Leon, the CONCACAF champions right there, CONCACAF Champions League champions.
And Austin and I'm going to have to go with you on this one. Mazati. Mtlin.
Mazzati.
Okay. So all of these are on, are on Apple Plus. They are being played. By the way, they're also in Univision if you wish the Spanish version of it. Although if you want to do Apple Plus, they do have the Spanish version, language version of them. That's starting a week from today. So there you go, folks. Something to look forward to. And it also starts on the 20th, Thursday is when the first game of the Women's World Cup starts. So you're going to have soccer all day long, which we haven't talked about what's going on in Europe and other places. So if you are a fan, you got some serious stuff going on. Now, yesterday we showed you a preview of some of the favorites from the Women's World Cup. Today we're going to give you a real quick look at what the stadiums are like, and so we're going to do that, and then Amadeus and I'll come back on the other end and talk about it.
Did you enjoy that? There's so much more, so why not hit subscribe and download the Optus Sport app.
And thanks to Optus Sports for providing the video to us. I thought the Melbourne Stadium was pretty cool.
I was about to mention that. That was definitely my favorite. How they did the canopy over the seats.
Yeah, it's like you don't it looked like a piece of art from from a distance. It was kind of cool.
It was really nice. Even that Wellington one was super round. I was like, wow, that is like a circle almost.
Yeah, that's like the bull ring. And and the other thing, the last one on the water in New Zealand was pretty cool too.
The one that had said, like, I forget which city it was, but the way it said like Coopers and AUFC on the seats, that one reminded me of BMO Field. What a Mickey Mouse stadium. That's their BMO Field of the World Cup, I guess.
They're going to play somewhere, right? So they'll throw them in.
Well, BMO Field's going to be used in 2026 for the men, so
right. So why not? And there's Rise, right? I thought that Amadeus is going to break out a rap song. So, no, he's not. But, you're certainly welcome to, you know what? If you're out there, Rye, buddy, hang on. We have this capability. As long as I give it right. Yeah. All right. Rye, click on that, buddy. Click on that and come on in if you want. I'm happy to have you. So, yeah. No, it was fun to see the stadiums, and no doubt that they will be. The other thing you have to remember is it's winter in Australia and New Zealand. So, heat, which normally we get down there whenever they play the Australian Open in January, is not what you're going to see, this time next week when you get to Australia and New Zealand. Obviously, the teams are already there. But
that actually might be a better thing because as we saw in the Men's World Cup, the heat can really become an issue in those dry places as it was in Qatar. So it's not the worst. It's definitely not the worst having it in winter.
No, and from the standpoint of the fans, again, and look, there's not a lot of snow in Australia or New Zealand for that matter. It's cold, but it's not, bitterly cold. So there's that. But you're right. I mean, it makes it a little more comfortable to play whenever you're not worried about the heat for sure.
And that was actually part of the reason why they had the World Cup in December, because they needed to play it in the winter time, or else it would have just been too hot in the summer in Qatar.
Right now, by the way, if you happen to be in Melbourne, it's a balmy but clear 48 degrees. So there you go. So that's really what you're looking for in that regard. But yeah, definitely fun to have them around. But there's that kind of temperature is not going to be a problem for any team that I would think playing over there. So good weather should be had, and they should have some fun. But you're right. The heat, the best line I saw was from Ray Hudson, who's possibly one of the funniest guys I've ever met from a sports standpoint, who played for Fort Lauderdale back in the NASL days and has been the voice of, the color commentator in the United States on BN Sports and then Gold TV First, and just a hilarious guy. And when he found out that they're playing in Qatar in the wintertime, he said, what's the matter? The sun got booked. So clearly he's got a sense of humor. So anyway, yeah, those are the stadiums. A week from today, they'll be playing. We'll have results for you. And we won't be watching them, but we will have results. I'm assuming
the jury's still out on that one, Jim. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
You might be watching.
Maybe I'll catch the 10 a.m. one for sure. Maybe
that one, yeah.
Maybe the 5 a.m. one too, and possibly even the midnight one if I don't pass out while watching it. But
yeah,
it's going to be that 3 a.m. one. That's going to be the tough one.
right. The early bird special. I'll probably catch the second half of the 5 a.m. game and the 10 a.m. game. I can definitely get. I'm like you on that midnight game, and at 3:00 in the morning game.
I'll try to watch it. I'll turn the TV on, and I'm sure the game will get played and watched to full capacity. Just I don't know if it'll be me or the walls watching it.
Right, exactly. It's like, it counts because the TV's on. So
exactly, right? Give them the view.
Right,
but I didn't actually view it.
No, I tried, but failed obviously. But it's going to be some wild action. As a matter of fact, let me just pull up the schedule here so that people can get ready for next week about what's going on. And okay, here is the game schedule. On Thursday at 3 a.m., you've got New Zealand and Norway facing off. That game is on Big Fox.
Gotta miss the opening match. Nice.
Right. And of course, the 6 a.m. game is the other home country, Australia. They're facing the Republic of Ireland. That's the 10 a.m. game. And then your Canadians get the opportunity to play Nigeria. And that game comes up on Fox at 10:30 p.m. So the first two are morning games, and in Group A and Group B, and the second one happens to be Canada, and it's a 10:30 start.
You know what? 10:30 is not bad. I could watch the Canadian women play that game for sure.
Yeah,
that'll end by 12:30, 100%.
Give it some props. Then on the 21st, which is Friday, a week from today, let's see what we got.
Yeah, that's going to be the one. No chance.
Yeah. Friday, the 1 a.m. game, the Philippines and Switzerland is on FS1. Spain and Costa Rica, that's a 3 a.m. game. That's also on FS1. And Big Fox has the United States drawing Vietnam in a game that will play primetime at 9 p.m. So 9 p.m. on a Friday night, I think they'll do fine on that one. So good to know on that. So Spain, Philippines, Switzerland will not be seen by either of us. But
those no chance.
U.S. and Vietnam, maybe. We may try that. Saturday next week, it's Zambia and Japan. That's the 3 a.m. game. You talked about England yesterday being perhaps overrated. They got the 5:30 game against Haiti. And then the primetime game in the U.S. on Sunday is Denmark and the China Republic. So there's that. Those are those games, and that's what's going on. We talked about it. We talked about the league situation. We gave you those first games. So you've got opportunities to watch games early in the morning, breakfast type games, and then you've got games that will be at night. So it'll be fun. You'll have all day soccer all the time. So there you go. That's what we got for next week. And, it's tomorrow we've got games in the MLS and some other stuff. So it's really kind of cool.
Yep. Tomorrow will be the last slate of MLS games before that tournament we talked about. Rycape, you probably missed it if you're still out there, but I know you were one of the ones that asked me about it. So the MLS is not breaking for a month. They're playing their League Cup in a tournament style. The link is in the chat box there. But so if you want to check it out, just click on the League Cup link. But yeah, they're playing a whole 47. You said it was 47, right?
Yeah.
47 team tournament between all the MLS and the Liga MX clubs from Mexico. So it'll be very good. There's going to be lots of MLS soccer teams playing over the next month, even though it won't be MLS games.
Right. Even though they will play each other on occasion. But quick question. If you're rating the MLS against the Mexican League, how would you put it? Are they on par with it? Is the Mexican League better? Is it,
Yeah, the Mexican League obviously used to be the dominant league in North America. I think it's starting to shift. But the fact that LAFC, which has been like the best team in the MLS for the last 3 years now, lost the Champions League to a club like León, I would say they're still a bit behind the Mexicans, but not by much at this point. I can definitely see the MLS taking over North America as the dominant league, kind of in the same way as we've seen USA on the men's side sort of try to start to take over North America as the Mexicans age. Really, their team has been aging. So yeah, and they looked good in the Gold Cup, but then again, they still lost to the USA's A team. So beating the B team in the Gold Cup doesn't really count for much when you lose to the
that doesn't help you
in the Nations League. So I would say they're close. They're definitely close.
They're getting there.
Yeah.
But they're not there yet. But they're getting there.
They're not there yet, but I don't even think. I'm not sure if the Mexican League has relegation and promotion either. That's actually something I need.
Well, there's only 18 teams in the league.
Yeah,
So,
I actually think it doesn't have relegation, it's better for the MLS because if that's the league you're trying to compete with, you have fair ground there, obviously, with no relegation or promotion. So it's interesting. I would say there's probably better clubs in the MLS. If we're gonna go by like the best MLS clubs against the best Mexican clubs, there's probably better MLS clubs. But as we saw, Champions League speaks volumes. LAFC wanted that badly, and they lost home and away in that final, both legs. So again, I think that speaks volumes. Everybody knows Champions League is the end all and be all with these continent tournaments, right? Because it's one thing to be the best in your country, it's another thing to be the best on the continent. That's what Champions League is. So yeah, like I said, it's the fact that LAFC couldn't get over that hurdle tells me the MLS isn't quite there yet, but they're definitely close to the Mexican League.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. You want to get there.
Well,
and get there.
Just like 5-10 years ago, the gap was massive. So to be where we are right now, almost at par, considering the size of the gap over the last few years, absolutely the MLS has been making progress.
All right, let me ask you a question. The money in the Mexican League is not great, okay? Not that it's much better in the MLS, but like we see in baseball, we talked about this before, where Mexican players will come and play in the United States and play, for Major League Baseball teams, and people from, the Caribbean, from Panama and from, Puerto Rico and others come to play. Why would not, if you have some very outstanding players in Mexico, why would you not, if you are the MLS, take a run at some of those teams?
So that's actually what I think has been happening and helping to improve the MLS over this last few years.
Okay.
They've been dipping in a lot to the Mexican players, trying to bring the Mexican players over, and even dipping into South America, trying to bring those players over. Because as I said, I've been watching a lot of South American soccer these last few months, and a lot of ex-MLS players in there, right? And they play in the MLS, and then they go back home when they're past their prime, really, right? And they just go play for their hometown. But Yeah, so I would say that it's definitely, I think that's why the MLS has been improving. They're starting to poach more players. And if you look at it from the other side, as a Mexican player or a South American player coming to play in the MLS, the money is better and the market is larger. Like it's no shock the USA, obviously the population's more, but just the market in general from an entertainment standpoint is massive. So if you're a Mexican or a South American player, why maybe not so much South America, because obviously they have their own big clubs and big organization down there, but if you're maybe one of the lesser talents in South America, because there's still a ton of good talent down there that may not be, Flamengo level talent, but still very, very good talent and would be very good in some of these other leagues. So I think a lot of that with the Mexican players coming up and the South American players coming up, I think if you're in their shoes, you got to be thinking, I can go make more money here. I'm in a bigger market where maybe there'll be more fans showing up now, especially since it's growing in North America. So I just think from that standpoint, it's obviously it's a huge sport. And if you play for a local club, like you're going to get local support.
Mhm.
But I watch some of these smaller clubs all the time. And, I was watching a Champions League match the other day. It's Champions League qualifying. And even in the Copa Libertadores or the Copa Sudamericana qualifying, these are massive matches. And like this is to stay in the competition, and you get nobody that shows up to these games. So again, like that plays into it, I think. And as we've seen in the MLS, teams, they don't play as often. I noticed they don't have that condensed schedule. They're not playing a ton of different competitions like a lot of these other countries, but that helps from a rest standpoint. So you can technically put out a better team week after week.
Quality of play. Ryan has a question. He wants our thoughts on moving to AC Milan.
I just think, I don't know. I don't think he's going to start. I don't think he's going to start for my team. But I don't know. He's always.
It's not going to help. It'll help him.
I mean, it's tough to say because he's been basically the bench warmer on Chelsea.
Right.
It's very obvious Chelsea never liked him even when he was healthy.
All right, fine. So if Chelsea doesn't want him, he's not going to play in AC Milan. Why wouldn't he come back to the MLS and play and be a star?
It must be, like I said, he knows the level of play, right? This was one of the points I brought up. Why is the US and the Canadian men's national teams primarily made up of players that play overseas in stronger leagues?
Understood. Yeah.
So I think, and plus the money, he could probably make more money playing for a club like AC Milan. AC Milan's a giant. Okay, I know we've been bad for 10 years, but we are an absolute giant. Okay, go look at their history before the year 2010, before they sold the farm to PSG. That was like the end of an era when they sold Zlatan and Thiago Silva, and then Hello Kitty came in and bought the team, and just they gave them all this money that they never spent for some reason. What a decade of disaster that was. But AC Milan is a massive club in Italy. So they are by far one of the biggest. So definitely from that standpoint, the move makes 100% sense to me. What I don't love about the move is that I thought it made more sense for him to go to Juventus, just because I know Chelsea wanted to keep Zakaria, who they had on loan from Juventus. Right. So they were trying to do that kind of swap deal where we'll keep and just take Pulisic. But I guess Juventus didn't want him, which again doesn't make sense because Juventus is in desperate need of a striker. They've been in desperate need of a striker for years, even when they had Ronaldo or the years before they had Ronaldo. Like, this is a team that's always had a strong midfield and has lacked a good striker over the last few years. So you want to know what Juventus's problem is? It's scoring goals. That's what it is. And so that's why that move made more sense to me. On AC Milan, he's just going to sit behind Giroud until Giroud decides, I don't want to play anymore.
Right. So, I'll tell you what. I have a quick question for you before you jump out of here. They're racing this week in New Hampshire. That's where NASCAR is, in New Hampshire this week. So, give me your three best guesses on who's going to win. I mean, that's a that's one of those smaller tracks. They were in. We're talking NASCAR for a moment, folks. They were at in Atlanta last week, which was a redesigned track. It's a pretty cool track. My boy, that I wanted to win didn't win, but it ended up for an interesting result for sure. So, Rye, if you're still with us there, buddy, give us some of your thoughts on NASCAR this weekend, because we, want to keep people informed on all things. Because yesterday we traded Shohei Ohtani. He sent us a letter and said he likes his new digs in Los Angeles. So.
Yeah, we sold Machado and
we sold that
as well.
Okay, he expects a weather problems on Sunday. My top three are Bell, Byron, and Harvick. Hey, Rye, this is Kevin. I think Kevin's retiring, right? Kevin Harvick is retiring after this. I'm a Ford guy, and so I'd love to see Kevin Harvick win. He's got a good team. So, but man, Chevrolet has had some really good results recently, and specifically the folks from goodness, I've forgotten the man's name. Oh wait, on the Xfinity race on Saturday, he likes Sammy Smith. And yeah, okay, that's cool. You got to drop by if you can sometime, Rye, on the weekends and on Fridays, and give us some of your knowledge on NASCAR, because it's always good. So Bell, Byron, and Harvick are your three to watch on Sunday. You expect the weather, perhaps it'll be raining in New Hampshire. Never know, good. And then this Xfinity race, which is the Saturday race, you like Sammy Smith. So there's thanks, Ryan.
Top 5. Sammy Smith, top 5.
Yeah, top 5. Right? So there you go. And probably not going to be as many accidents as there were at Atlanta last week. Man, it got crazy in that situation. They actually ran a race in primetime on Sunday. Normally, that's not what they do, but they did. And NASCAR took a look at the weather and went, uh-oh. They raced like hell to get the race in, which was tough. So good to have Rye around, and good to have that information, buddy. Greatly appreciate it. We're not trading anybody that I know of today yet. We'll get into that, but Major League Baseball will be back tonight, and there's going to be some. We talked about it before. There's going to be some crucial series here in Major League Baseball, and right after the break, you want to come out and be as good as you can, and we'll see if there's going to be movement. We talked about Philly and San Diego, two teams that literally have to get going. I mean, they absolutely have to blow it out the second half. They've underperformed, both of them have, and we'll have to see if that's going to happen. Philly and San Diego, that game's 6:05 in Philadelphia at the Bank. Pittsburgh, which is an enigma, they've been up and they've been down, is your Apple TV Plus game tonight against San Francisco, who also is a bit schizophrenic. The two second best teams in their rival Eastern divisions, the Miami Marlins will be in Camden Yard to play the Baltimore Orioles tonight. You got Arizona up the street in Toronto from Amadeus. You got the Dodgers and the Mets, which is they're playing in Citi Field in New York. There's still a lot of Dodger fans from back in the day when they were in the 50s back in Brooklyn. So, and the interesting thing for those of you who don't know this and probably could live without it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. The Mets colors, which are blue and they are orange, are an homage to the Dodgers blue and the Giants orange. So there you go. They when the Mets were introduced in 1962 as the New York Metropolitans, they were given those colors as he said, to remember the blue for the Dodger fans and the orange for the Giant fans. So there you go.
What's it with these New York teams that need to they pick a name and then we're only gonna go by the short form. We got the Metropolitans, but they're the Mets. Okay, we got the Knickerbockers, they're the Knicks.
Right.
Like,
I don't know.
Just name them. Just keep the short name.
Maybe it's because New York's so fast paced they don't even want to say the name. There are times the Rangers don't want to be known as the Rangers, so there's that. But yeah, I mean, well, the Yankees usually are. There are times when they get the Yanks, but if you talk to a Yankee fan, they're the Yankees, and I mean that's pretty much, they don't go by anything else. So
Or the Pinstripes.
the Pinstripers, the Bronx Bombers, okay, those factor into it, but most of the time, Yankee fans are adamantly saying Yankee.
Well, it's just half the New York teams, right? The Knicks
Sorry?
Mets. It's half the New York teams.
Right,
It's
right.
the Knicks Mets, because then the other ones don't. You got the Yankees and
Mm-hmm.
the Nets, if you want to count that, I guess.
Yeah, the Nets have always been the Nets, so that was short to begin with. So that didn't, can't get much shorter than 4 letters. But
There you go. Ryan Cape says New York Giants and the G-Men.
yeah, well, that's true. The football team. It used to be, because back in the day there was obviously a New York Giants baseball team and a New York Giants football team. So not to confuse people, they used to go, the New York Football Giants will be playing this afternoon. They never said the New York Baseball Giants, but they said the New York Football Giants. Your favorite series this week is the one who's back, who ended the first half when they played each other, and now they're starting the second half. They just flipped cities.
The 6-gamer. You're talking about the 6-gamer.
The 6-gamer with Milwaukee and Cincinnati. This time, it's on the banks of the Ohio River down there, just across the river from Kentucky. Is Cincinnati. You can go get some chili. Chicago White Sox are at Truist Park in Atlanta, kind of suburban Atlanta. Boston visits the friendly confines of Chicago's Wrigley Field for a 3-game set. Cleveland is at Texas. Tampa Bay is in Kansas City for what they better hope is a sweep, or at least a road. Take 2 out of 3. They got to at least do that. Tyler Glasnow.
They were slipping going into the break.
Yeah.
Right? So this is their chance to come out, get a sweep, and let's get back on track.
Get back on track. You had some days off. Rosarena with the All-Star game with Diaz and the guys. So, get your act back together. That's an 8-10 start. Tyler Glasnow looking to become the first 12-game winner on the mound for the Rays. Washington is at St. Louis, which is usually, even when the Nationals were good, that was a house of horrors for them. We don't have a starting pitcher for the Nationals tonight, but we do know that Miles Michaelis is going to be on the hill for your St. Louis Cardinals. The Yankees are in Colorado. That's an 8:40 start. Rondon and Gomber are going to pitch for the respective teams. The Yankees go Rondon, Gomer for Colorado, Houston, Los Angeles Angels. That's Jay France for pitching for the Astros. And our boy, Shohei Ohtani. Now, we're going to have to check that. I would check that.
Soon to be Dodger, Mariner, Padre.
Right. I would, you left out Seattle. Oh, no, you did. You said Mariners. Okay. Now, Ohtani was out. Did he miss the start with the finger?
He did miss a start. I remember before the All-Star break, he was pulled. He was scheduled for a start.
Right.
Couldn't do that one.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just saying that if you're going to wager on that game, I would definitely wait until I found out if Ohtani is actually pitching.
Yeah, I agree because this is going to be the first start since he's been dealing with that blister you
Right.
mentioned, right? So, yeah, but he's still been playing offensively, and he batted at the All-Star game, right? So he's,
Well, I mean,
he's
yeah.
going to be in the lineup.
No, he's
But-
been in the lineup. I was just, if you're thinking, okay, I'm going to take the Angels tonight against a very good Astros team, because Ohtani's pitching, you may want to rethink that if Ohtani isn't pitching. Just saying. But
Well, you don't know how the blister is going to affect him too, even if he does
Yeah.
pitch.
yeah, I mean, he may be on a very short pitch count.
Especially if the Angels know something we don't, think they're going to trade him, then yeah, he probably doesn't start tonight at all if he's getting traded.
He just hits. He's just our DH. In a game of two teams where only the families are involved from standpoint of wanting to watch it, Minnesota and by the way, real quick, I didn't say this. I should have. We talked about the Apple Plus game of the week, but the MLB Network game of the week tonight is the Angels and Astros. So if you want to watch that game and watch Ohtani play, it's on the Major League Baseball Network. And Minnesota is at the Oakland Coliseum. Neither team has a listed pitcher yet. Detroit is in Seattle for the 10-10 start. That's the late game this week. Rodriguez pitching for Detroit. Castillo pitching for the Mariners. So that's your. By the way, I just got the Dodgers and Mets pitcher staff. You got Julio Arias pitching for the Dodgers. You got Justin Verlander pitching for the Mets. That's the Apple TV game at 7:10. There's also an Apple TV game, which is San Francisco, Pittsburgh. No, and guess what? They got pitchers now too. Stippling pitching for San Francisco. Hill pitching for the Buccos. And Philly, San Diego, you got pitchers there too. Darvish and Sanchez. Sanchez, of course, for the Phillies. Darvish, of course, for San Diego. So there's your pitchers.
And yeah, even your Nationals. I got T.
Oh, you got a pitcher?
That's Trevor Williams, I think.
Yeah.
Trevor Williams, who I got listed.
He was one of the pitchers that came in the Soto trade from San Diego. He was one of San Diego's top pitching prospects. So
We're going to see tonight.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how that. We'll see how it works out for him tonight.
I mean, the Cardinals have been a disaster with their pitching this year, so the Nats have a chance. I know they've finished the break strong.
Right, buddy. The Rays should try to get Ohtani. Hey, they should, but they'd have to sell the stadium to pay for it. If it's a sign of, I don't think the Rays could even get them in. They've got. I'm thinking the Rays' way of doing things. They don't really trade for major, pieces. In the run up to the playoffs. So it would be un-Ray-like to go and get a major star, with the capabilities of Ohtani. But if it were just the three of us, that would be cool. I'd be happy to ship out a few prospects to get Ohtani.
Well, we've kind of just assumed he's going to stay on the West Coast. Like we assume he won't go to the East. But I mean, if he were to go to the East, where would he even go?
Well, the obvious situation would be New York because he not for the Mets, so he would go to the Yankees.
Why don't you think the Mets? They do have the GM.
He already said that he wasn't interested in potential. Let's put it this way: his agent said that the only he listed two teams or three teams in the East. He listed Boston. He listed the Yankees, and what was the other one? Shoot. Oh goodness. Atlanta. Those are the three landing spots on the East Coast for now. Two of them make no sense, and that would be Boston or Atlanta. And the reason being, they don't have any sort of heavy Asian contingent, and there'd be no reason for him to go to those. For the money they're going to have to pay to get them, if you don't have some sort of ties to the Asian community in a major city, then you're it's not going to help you, because what happens, the Otani games are all televised back in Japan. So, there's a lot of new Angel fans in Japan watching the game. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to end up on the East Coast, but we'll see.
Well, when you mention those three
that's half the
teams,
money.
when you mention those three teams, to me that sounds like Atlanta because he wants to win.
Yeah.
New York and Boston just for the name, which makes zero sense because you're talking about 4th and 5th in the AL East right now. Like, these aren't even good teams. Yeah, they're over 500, but you play in such a strong division. Why would you even want to go there? I know you're playing for the Yankees, but the Yankees aren't the Yankees this year. That's for sure.
Well, there's the other part to that equation too, and it's equally, you've touched on before, but the other part of it is he's already in a division where it's hard to get. You've got Texas and Houston. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. And the Angels are fighting against the Tide right now. If you go
Texas is just getting started.
Yeah, Texas is going to get better. Think about it. Hopefully, sometime this year, I'm trying to think. They've got they have 2 or 3 pitchers on the DL. But,
They got DeGrom. I think Odorizzi is on the.
Yeah, he's on.
He's a Ranger now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it's Odorizzi, DeGrom, and
I can't remember the other guys. I know they have 3 pitchers. The third pitcher is basically their 5th starter, so they can get by without that. But look at what they're doing without Jacob DeGrom. That's scary.
Well, they still have Eovaldi, who has turned out to be the ace of this rotation.
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't know why Boston let him go.
If you talk to Boston fans, I can't tell you how many Boston fans are ruining everything that has been done in the past 2 years or 3 years or 4 years with the Red Sox. They're all mad. And it started with the Mookie Betts thing, okay?
Yeah.
Letting Mookie Betts get out of town. So make of it what you will. That's what's going on.
For Dugo to replace him.
Yeah. So it's like a solid replacement. That's going to get you where you want to go. No, I don't think so. I think we got some serious problems there. It's going to be, it'll be interesting. But yeah, the Otani thing, I agree. I think, General Manager Amadeus and I have been working in the numbers, and we just think it's better for him on the West Coast. From that standpoint,
I think you mean assistant commissioners. Amadeus.
Deputy commissioner. We want a better title, deputy commissioner of Major League Baseball.
For all major leagues, MLS, MLB, MLE, whatever has a major league in it, bring it to us. We have the idea.
That, we'll even throw in college sports as well. Just give us that too. Take them all. But it's it's going to be some fun stuff as we get ready for the pennant drive. Really, baseball becomes relevant and important right around the early part of August because of the trade deadline, and then after the trade deadline, it's the stretch run. it's the 1 month before, the playoffs. So you want to be getting at least healthy and start winning and get things moving for that at this point in time. So
Get hot or go home.
What's that?
Get hot or go home.
Well, yeah, and then there's some teams who are both buyers and sellers at the All-Star break. So
Like the Padres, I think.
yeah, schizophrenic. I think we also have traded Juan Soto yet. And we haven't traded him yet, but we're going to trade him.
Yeah, that was part of it. Him and Machado, right?
Right.
You shed the small big contracts so you can bring in an even bigger contract. That's the
Right.
Padre way.
That's the Padre way. Just fill them up, and we'll go from there. And they also have the best 4-inning pitcher in baseball, Blake Snell. How did he win a Cy Young? And I don't think he had a complete game in that entire Cy Young season.
I don't know. Wasn't he on the Rays when he won that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Rays. It's literally all the Rays pitching coaches.
Well,
We've seen time and time again. Morton left when Snell left.
look
These
at
guys turn into pumpkins.
even David Price.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a what was the year that he was at the Tigers with Verlander and Scherzer, okay? Which I think Verlander won a Cy Young there when he was there. He was still the third pitcher on that team. And then they shed him and got rid of him, sent him to the Dodgers. He never started for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
He was out of the bullpen. So you're right. He's got to be the pitching coach.
Oh, there you go. Radcliffe says Archer left and turned into a bum. Chris Archer.
Oh, yeah, Chris Archer. Yeah. I'll tell you what. If I'm Chris Archer, well, I'm not, but if I were, I don't even know who he plays for anymore. I mean, he's played for a ton of teams.
Last time I think it was the Twins. This was like 2 years
Really?
ago.
The 22nd. I knew he was at the Pirates a couple years ago. I
I'll
don't
tell
know.
you right now.
Yeah.
I just got to do a quick search on baseball reference.
Yeah.
He's retired
Oh, he is?
last year.
All right. Well,
Last year, retired as a Cleveland Indian. No, he's drafted by a Cleveland Indian. I was going to say, how did he retire as an Indian?
right.
No. Retired as a Twin, I believe.
Okay.
Was drafted by the Indians when they were the Indians.
Well, Rocco Baldelli, Rocco, let me try to say it. Baldelli, a former Rays player, is the manager of the Twins. And Chris Archer is a very good guy and also going to be a very good young broadcaster. So if I'm Archer, I'm knocking on doors, to become a voice, either with MLB Network or, not necessarily when I go to I go to Fox or to NBC or somewhere where I could do baseball games, because he's a good analyst. They used him a couple of times when the season was over, and he was in the playoffs. So maybe I'd go to Turner, work there to, so I could be with Charles and Barkley and all the fun guys, all the cool kids in camp. So that would be fun. So, all right. Tell us what's going on this weekend for you with your picks and all that stuff, and where to find it, which of course you can do in the show box below.
Yeah, you can get my picks at bigal.com and pickadvisor.com, and I'll have a bunch of soccer up in South America and this final MLS slate before we kick into the All-Star break / League Cup tournament. So that'll be exciting. Yeah. So, and MLB's back, so I'll definitely have some MLB this weekend. Not to mention, the Women's World Cup and all these things that are going to be starting next week. So, there's going to be tons and tons of soccer.
You got any favorites on the futures market for the Women's World Cup?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be USA or Spain. The thing with the coach worries me a little bit with Spain now, but USA, I think this is going to be their one final hurrah before.
One final moment.
Right. And like the video we saw yesterday, you know, they touched how Megan Rapinoe, she might not even play and things like that, but they're still on the roster, even if they don't play. They're there with the team. And having that voice is very important. They are going to be the guiding voices, even if they're not out on the pitch with these young women. And that's why I think, you know, they talked so much about the mix of experience and young talent that made Germany so deadly for this World Cup, but they mentioned nothing about USA. And like I said, I know their experienced talent won't be playing as much,
Right.
but having it there will be enough to guide this team through, I think. And then once they're not on the squad anymore 4 years from now, that's when I think you're going to really, you know, we're going to, the U.S. is going to be tested. It'll be up to these younger women to find their way for the team.
Well, you know, we talked about yesterday about the importance of having somebody in the clubhouse, right? A voice and somebody who's been there, done that, and knows how to do it. And Megan Rapinoe is that person. So you got your clubhouse person, and that's going to help. And you know, they've got 2 or 3 other women who have you know, played in a lot of games. So you know, we'll see, but it doesn't hurt. You have to have some of that, and hopefully it'll play out. So that'll be a week from today's first game that they'll play. So we'll get to see them, and they're playing China now. China beat them? No, I'm sorry, 94. They beat China, right, in the World Cup final.
China does have a good team. They've been to the finals a few times. When you look at the history, they have definitely been a team that goes deep into the tournament. And I think they have a top 15, definitely a top 20 team in the world. So China's it's definitely not like the men's side. This isn't a team you're just going to write off and count out from the beginning of the tournament.
It's amazing. The women in China have, you know, performed phenomenally. Look at, you know, LPGA. At least a handful of Chinese women playing who are phenomenal, you know, on the tour. You've got some of them in college basketball. You've got women in soccer. I mean, so women in China have become, you know, dominant in their roles. So it's kind of cool from that standpoint. So something to look forward to. This is that game a week from tonight. So we'll get to there. And so, all right, over the weekend, what you got? We got soccer, MLS, we got MLB, Major League Baseball, and we got Rise NASCAR picks for you real quick. Let me go up there and pick them up real quick. We got Bell, Byron, and Harvick if you're going to be watching NASCAR on Sunday, and watching NASCAR on, Xfinity on Saturday. It's a Sammy Smith top 5 finish for that. That's Rise picks, and you know.
And you can actually catch his show on the weekend. I know he does it on the Insiders. Yeah, he does it for the Insiders Room and then Pick Advisors. So he's got his the NASCAR report on the weekend. Him and a few other guys. So definitely go check that out if you're looking for NASCAR fix.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, I know that they do a good job because I did see it. I didn't know it was still on, but now I know. They did some really good stuff and have some really good people on it. So if you are a NASCAR fan, even if you're not even wagering, they talk a lot about insides of what's going on, and so it's definitely worth watching, whether you're placing a bet on the race or if you just want to watch the race. So, good information. All right. Okay, for Amadeus, I'm Jim. You guys have a safe weekend. We will see you next week on Monday, and we'll have plenty, I'm sure, to talk about at that point. So everybody have a lovely weekend. For Amadeus, I'm Jim. Take care.